Most influential album, I would say Simon & Garfunkel's The Sound of Silence. I listened to this when I was really young. It was like the first time I had over-ear headphones on, and the entire experience was just really magical, like imaginative. There was a lot going on, both like musically and in terms of lyrics, that I just hadn't really experienced before. So I guess aesthetically, I'm not sure it was hugely influential, but I would say just the general feeling of like that kind of magical excitedness was really, influential to me.
So for me, I don't really have one particular album. I would just have to choose the band Beirut's entire discography. I love them so much. Just like really my favorite band ever. There's a ton of different music I listen to, but I know their music so well. Kind of like Christine was saying, I wouldn't say that they really influenced me aesthetically, or my music doesn't really sound anything like Beirut's, but I just listen to them so much, I feel like they have to influence me as a human.
One of the most influential books I read a few years ago. It's called The Last Lover, and it's this just totally surreal work of experimental fiction that I think when I first approached reading it, I was just trying to like read it as I would any other book, but it kind of calls for this really intense attention, where I found myself having to like slow down the pace of my reading, pay like super close focus to each word, and just the experience of reading that, plus the actual content, which is just totally surreal and magical, had a really big impact.
For me, the most influential literature, I guess I would have to say Franz Kafka and Hiroki Murakami. And when I was younger, I didn't really read. It wasn't until kind of college I figured out what I liked reading, and both of them have this kind of like dreamy, kind of like Christine says she enjoys, like kind of surrealist kind of writing that's really, their work is like really insular and introspective, and I kind of like that like inward exploration. Yeah, so just the kind of that aesthetic and feeling of writing, I just really enjoy reading.
Public Space One here in Iowa City. I think just in terms of community, they represent the community really well with all the projects that they have and the shows they put on, and they clearly also have a lot of community support. They're amazing. I love them.
They are. The community member I would have to choose is Ellie Hoffmeyer, aka Penny Peach Jr. Which is so fun to say while she's in the room right now. No, I moved here in 2019, and I was like going to all the experimental stuff, like Feed Me Weird Things and everything, and which is where I first met Christine Burke at, I think, one of their shows, which is amazing. And then the pandemic hit, and I kind of like wasn't a part of the community and had no idea what was going on in Iowa City really. And then I went to a show last summer that was Anthony Warden and the Illiterati, and Ellie was playing that show, and I remember like it was amazing, and I went home and like listened to her EP and like started reading about like a bunch of Iowa City artists and like kind of following the thread of this like amazing indie community here, and that was kind of like the moment where I was like, okay, this is the community that I want to root into. And then a few months later I started working with Christine and Gabby Vanek and Justin Comer, who like played experimental music here for a while now, and kind of those two worlds collided. So yeah, I would say thanks, Ellie.